couple of years ago, I was in Rome. And while we were visiting the Trevi Fountain, I felt like having a scoop of ice cream, which was €2.30 there. Afterwards, as we were on our way home, we passed another ice cream place where a scoop of ice cream was just €1.75. Quite a difference. I was prepared to pay more at the Trevi Fountain than the second ice cream place could charge because of the location, which is a scarce resource. It's quite difficult for anybody else to copy this, so people are prepared to pay more for it. Funnily enough though, it is probably not the place that sells the ice cream that makes the money from the different charges for a scoop of ice cream, but it is the person who owns the place where the ice cream shop is located. So the scarce resource is owned by somebody, and this particular owner of the scarce resource will reap the benefits. As companies, we in fact can achieve sustainable competitive advantage exactly by having such valuable, rare, inimitable and non-substitutable resources. So we are trying to make sure that the resource I have is generating some value, which is the case for having a location at the Trevi Fountain for an ice cream place. I try to make sure that this is a rare resource, which again, there is only one Trevi Fountain, so having an ice cream place at the Trevi Fountain, this is a rather rare thing. I want to make sure that it's difficult for anybody else to copy what I do. And again, it's pretty difficult to have another ice cream place at the Trevi Fountain. I think there's another one not too far away from the one where we got our scoop, but there's a limited number of ice cream shops which will be in that area, so it's pretty hard to imitate that. And finally, we want to make sure that no one else is coming up with something that is rather similar that can achieve the same thing. So for example, someone might have a fantastic ice cream that is tasting so great that I'm prepared to go to a different location, or maybe someone else has a location that is comparable in terms of attraction, let's say near the Forum Romanum. So if I want to systematically think about which resources I really do want to invest in, there's a way for me to put this into a matrix. The way I draw the matrix is the following. So on one side, I will look how valuable and rare a particular resource is. On the other one, how difficult it is to imitate or to substitute this particular resource. And then I can find 4 different boxes here. I can have here in the top far corner, which is the most attractive spot really, where a resource that falls into here is very valuable, very rare, it's hard to imitate it, and it's basically not easy to substitute it. So these resources are my strategic resources. Then for resources which are pretty valuable and rare, but they can, in a kind of easy way, can be either be imitated or substituted, well, these are short-term valuable resources. Resources which are not particularly valuable and rare, which can be imitated or substituted relatively easily, well, these are entry resources. For an ice cream place, it would be, well, to have a place where you sell ice cream in the first place. And then you would have possibly some asymmetries. These are resources which are difficult to imitate, but they don't really create any value. They're not rare in your industry. For those resources that fall into the strategic resource category, well, you will try to nurture and leverage them. The ones which are short-term valuable resources, you will try to exploit them and possibly build some mechanisms that make them also difficult for others to imitate and to copy. Entry resources, you might have to keep them to just stay in the game. Possibly some of these resources could cover activities that you can outsource. And for those which are asymmetries, well, you're gonna see if there's any way that these resources can help you to generate some value. So how do you precisely figure out where in this matrix you fall? The way you do it is you look at these 4 criteria: valuable, rare, inimitable, and non-substitutable. And for each of the resources that you think you have, so you're going to make a list of all the resources you have, say for example here location for our ice cream place, you're going to give on each of these criteria a score from 1 to 5. So location, pretty valuable for an ice cream place. Let's give it a 4. It's also quite rare, as we said, that there is maybe 1 or 2 other ice cream places close by, so we're going to give that a 4 as well. In terms of imitation, well, it's pretty hard to do it because there's just a limited number of real estate locations available around the Trevi Fountain. So again, you know, this is something going to be quite hard. I would say we can even give that a 5. And in terms of substitution, well, we were saying that a substitution could be fantastic ice cream where people are really prepared to go, or another great location, which is going to be hard again, but maybe slightly easier to get. So let's give that a 3. If we add the valuable and the rare up, we're going to get a total score of 8, which on that axis here would bring us somewhere up here. And in terms of imitation and substitution, again, if we add that up, we get somewhere to 8 here, which is going to be up here, which means somewhere in here, this is where the location ranks in terms of resources for the ice cream place in Rome. So if you want to gain a competitive advantage, think about the resources you have, see how valuable, how rare, how difficult to imitate and how difficult to substitute they are. Building a strategy around these resources has the great advantage that it's actually quite hard for anybody else to follow you to build these resources.